you were shaping your time. You valued time. Like, there's one thing about you. You take your damn time. Like, you go fishing, you go hunting, you go golfing, and you don't want anybody telling you what to do when it comes to that. And that's how you've always been. And that's where I got it from. I remember you being like, hey, everybody, September, I'm out. Don't call me. And back then it was great because there was no internet or cell phone. So they literally couldn't get a hold of you in all of September, and it would drive your business partners crazy, right?
Oh, we had a really sour deal happen one year that was, it was catastrophic, and it was lifetime catastrophic, and ended up losing a pile of money on it. And it had happened, and it happened prior to September. And I took off on a 16-day elk hunt, and I returned from that elk hunt and had a great time. Wonderful weather, great calling was wonderful. Got back from that elk hunt, and my partner called me, and he said, "You haven't called us in 16 days. You never called me in 16 days." I said, "No." And I told you that I wasn't going to call you. I went hunting. And he said, and I said, "Here's the thing." I said, "It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse the older I get. And so if you can't handle this part of me, then we shall no longer be partners." And we were no longer partners. We're still very good friends. I play golf with him all the time. See him, talk to him, blah, blah, blah. But that was the end of the partnership. That's probably twisted, because hunting, especially the September thing and the elk and that whole thing that was going on at that time in Eastern Oregon, I couldn't miss that. I remember one year, a few years after that I didn't have a bunch of money saved up, or any money saved up to do it. And Mom was worried about bills and so forth and so on. Well, I got that taken care of, and I was having lunch with a guy, and I said to this guy, I said, I don't even know if I got enough money to go archery hunting this year, but if I don't, I'm going to borrow it so I can go archery hunting. And he goes, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah." Well, that night my phone rings, and it's that guy. And he goes, "David," he goes, "if you need money to go archery hunting," he says, "I'll give it to you, and you don't even need to pay it back." Well, I didn't take it because I got enough money to go archery hunting, but that's how sick and twisted I was, or am. That's why
some would define it that way. I don't think of it that way. I think you had a lot of vision to prioritize time doing your passion over, this false sense of security with a 9-to-5. Like, you're willing to take that risk. And I'm so glad you did, because it's one of the reasons that I have really guarded my time and structured my life to allow me to do the things I love, because I know that life's pretty finite, very finite. And it was from watching you. And I remember, like, believe me, Dad, when I was going to, especially in high school, and when my friends really started to notice what you did, I used to take a lot of criticism and get a lot of questions. Like, what does your dad actually do? Does he even have a job? He's just driving around smoking cigars. He's out in the woods. He can do whatever he wants. What's his real, does he even have a real job? And I remember I didn't know how to answer it at the time. So I would come home and I would ask you, "Dad, what should I tell people you do? They don't understand." And you're like, "Just tell them I'm an entrepreneur. That's all they need to know. It's none of their business, really." But now that I look back, I realize I don't blame those people for asking those questions, because they'd grown up in a more traditional sense of you go to school at 18, you get out of school, you get a job, and you retire when you're 65, and that whole model, which there is nothing wrong with that. But that's just not how you were, or how I was raised, or how I am now. In fact, one of your best friends, I've asked him, he's one of the best men I know. Eric, he lived that way. He worked very hard his whole life, just retired here recently. And I asked him recently, he worked in a normal 9-to-5 job his whole life. I asked him recently, he hunted and fished, and he's done all kinds of things, but he always did on his day offs or on his vacation. And he told me, I have no regrets. I've loved my life. I don't need to make more money. I love the security of a paycheck. And I respect that. And I love that. And he is really a truly happy man. And he's lived an incredible life. So I'm not suggesting that what you and I do is the right way, or nor do I recommend it, because it comes with a lot of highs and lows. But I am appreciative that you did that.
I think that talking about Eric and I's the way that we talk about how he is, how I am, what it did. He is really a special guy, and he worked the last 20 some years of his life as a prison guard, but he structured it 20 some years of his working life. He structured it always trying to bid it so that he had the 312s where he worked 36 hours or 38 hours or whatever in a row. And then he would have 4 days off. And during those 4 days off, he fished. I mean, he fished, and, and he went out and he did a lot of stuff, but he structured it like that. Prior to that, he worked at a mill, but he was always focused on when he was going to reach the age of 65 or 66 and finally, get away from that and have all of these things set up for his retirement. And he accomplished that, and it's awesome. And he's having the best time now. He, like he says, as long as I have enough gas in my pickup to get to the river,